Okay, now let's talk about classes. Classes are an incredibly important topic because every data structure that we're going to create is going to be created using classes. So what is a class? So my favorite analogy of a class is a cookie cutter. And I'm just going to shrink this down like this so we have some more room. But think of the cookie cutter like this. There are built-in cookie cutters, so to speak, in Python where you can create an integer. You can create strings. And when you create a class, you are creating your own data type. So for our simple example here, since we are using the analogy of a cookie cutter, we're going to create a class and we're going to call it cookie. You're going to want Python to do particular things when you create a new cookie. And you do that with what is called a constructor. And it has a particular syntax. It looks like this. So it starts out looking like a function with the def on there. And then it's double underscore init, or some people say init, but to initialize this, and then another double underscore. And one of the things that is going to be different about a method than a function is the self keyword. If it has self in there, it is a method that is part of a class. And we'll talk a little bit more about that self keyword as we are going through this example. And then there is the parameter color in this case. And what we're going to do with that is color is what this variable is here. So if you pass this the color green, it gets passed to here, and self.color applies to the specific instance of color that we're creating. So we would create a new cookie like this. So we'll say cookie1 equals cookie, and then we'll pass it the color green. So cookie1 is the variable name, just like if you had a variable and you set it equal to an integer or a string. But instead of an integer or a string, we are setting it to be the type cookie. And we're passing it the color green. This gets passed to the constructor, and that creates a green cookie. So now it makes it a little easier to describe this self keyword. This particular instance of cookie, this one here, that is called cookie1 itself is green. And this will make even more sense when we create another cookie. So we'll create another one here. We're going to call this one cookie2, and we're going to say that this one is blue. So cookie2, different variable, it is a different cookie. We're going to pass this one the color blue. Itself is blue, different cookie. So that is our constructor to be able to create new cookies. But in addition to the constructor, we can build other methods to do other things with these cookies. So I'm going to remove these for now. And our first method, we're going to call getColor. It has that self keyword in there. And if all it has is self, that means there are no arguments passed to this. It's just going to return the color for the particular cookie that you're calling this on. And then the other method is going to be called setColor. This one, you pass it a color, and it will change the color of that particular cookie. Okay, so we're going to go run this code in VS Code, because this is all code that we can run. And we're going to create our two new cookies like this. Okay, so let's flip over to VS Code. Okay, so here's our cookie class. This is where we create the cookies. And then there are two print statements down here to make sure that we are able to get the colors for cookie1 and cookie2. So I'm going to run this. And you can see up here in the output, cookie1 is green, cookie2 is blue. So I also want to do a set color. So I'm just going to paste some code in here like this. And right here we have cookie1 dot set color. And then we have these print statements down here to check to see if the color has actually changed. So let's run this. And now we have cookie1 is now yellow and cookie2 is still blue. Okay, so let's flip back over, and cookie 1 is now yellow. But how are we going to apply this in the course? As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we're going to use classes for every one of our data structures. So let's just walk through at a high level how we would use this for a linked list. We would call this class linked list. Remember, we always use a capital. We would have a constructor. And I'm just going to put this header line here. I'm not going to write all the code for each one of these methods, but we could write something for appending something to the linked list, to pop something off the end of the linked list, to prepend something, to put it on the beginning, to insert something, to remove something. So we're going to write all of these methods for linked list and more in the course. And that is how we're going to use classes.